drifting into memory. Something long gone keeps on coming back to me. My heart is hung up on what used to be. Time moves on, and then one day ancient history.
Well, hey y'all, do you remember when folks used to say a mama could mark a baby during pregnancy? Now, if you're younger, you may have never heard of such a thing. But if you're about my age, or maybe your mama or grandma grew up in the country, I bet you've heard those words before. Back then, this wasn't just an old wives' tale folks laughed about. A whole lot of people truly believed it. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers. They believed with all their hearts that something a pregnant mama experienced could somehow leave its mark on the baby she was carrying. Now today, medicine explains birthmarks and birth differences in very different ways. But years ago, country folks didn't have today's medical knowledge. As for me, I don't discount the old beliefs either. I think there's more than just today's version of science. Yet I'm a science-oriented person too. I not only studied hypnotherapy and aromatherapy, but I also studied medicine, pre-med, and nursing. So I'm a science girl too. Our ancestors tried to understand the world through what they saw, what they'd been told, and what had been passed down from one generation to the next. And those stories were taken seriously. I remember my own ma believing every word of it. She would tell us about her very first pregnancy. She said she found an old dead groundhog lying in the road in front of her house. She picked it up by one of its hind legs and carried the dead groundhog over to the ditch so nobody else would run over it. She was pregnant when she did this, when that first baby, my Uncle Bill, was born back in the early 1900s. He had a solid patch of coarse black hair that started just above his ankle and covered the top of his foot. That thick black hair was still there to the day he died in his early 80s. It looked like it belonged to an animal. He was one handsome man, but that foot always stood out, and Ma felt responsible for it. Ma always believed that happened because she'd carried that groundhog by its hind leg. Now, whether someone else believed it didn't matter to her. She believed it, and she never changed her mind. In fact, she believed it so strongly that during every one of her next 6 pregnancies, she became extra careful. She paid attention to everything. She tried not to be frightened. She tried not to look at anything disturbing. She tried not to touch herself after seeing something that upset her because she never wanted to mark another baby. And then, years later, when I was expecting my own baby, Ma reminded me over and over again, now don't you go marking that baby. She wasn't teasing. She wasn't trying to scare me. She was trying to protect her great-grandbaby the only way she knew how. That was love. Now, I remember hearing all kinds of stories growing up. Some folks believed that if a pregnant mama craved strawberries but couldn't get them, the baby might be born with a strawberry-colored birthmark. Others said if she was frightened by a rabbit, it could leave a mark on the baby like a cleft palate. Mom had rabbits, and my brother was born hair-lipped. Mom had it clipped. If a lady saw a terrible fire and instinctively grabbed her face, they might say a red birthmark would appear where she'd touched herself. Some believed that seeing a snake, a spider, or another frightening animal could somehow mark the baby. Others believed if a mama had an overwhelming craving for blackberries, cherries, or grapes and never satisfied it, the baby might be born with a birthmark shaped like that fruit. I've even heard older folks say a sudden fright, seeing someone badly injured, or witnessing a tragic accident could leave a mark if the mother touched her own body before the fright had passed. They believed the mark would come to the baby wherever they touched their body. Those were the kinds of stories country families shared, and they wasn't trying to frighten young mothers. Most of the time, they honestly believed they were helping them. That's one thing I miss about that generation. They cared enough to pass along everything they knew, whether it was gardening, canning, making biscuits, healing with herbs, or trying to protect an unborn baby. Those old stories were shared because they loved their families. Today, we know more about synthetic medicine than our grandparents did. But you better believe, our grandparents knew major potent information about natural ways. Remember, the synthetic industry uses one component to patent as a synthetic, and that means they don't use all the components of that plant. Therefore, the synergy of the many components, like the real plant, are not able to be patented. So keep that in mind when wondering what to do. I use both the system meds and God's natural versions. I'm not about one over the other. I use both. So yes, I still treasure hearing those old family beliefs because they remind me of the people who raised us. In Lyme, both kept me alive. Both. So you better believe that I respect Ma's old beliefs. I can still hear Ma's voice as plain as day. Now don't you go marking that baby. I'd love to hear from y'all. Did your mama, your grandma, or your great-grandma ever talk about marking a baby? What stories did they tell? Leave them down in the comments. I'd sure enjoy reading every one of them. Until next time, I'll see y'all again real soon. This is Hannah Cedars, and I've got to get busy listing a few more digital recipes in my Etsy shop this weekend, and I've got to find time somewhere to make faux donuts today. Soon, I'm going to be bringing you along Lynn real time once we get into the studio. Just bear with me through this short season of not being in a situation where I can video properly. I've heard all kinds of comments and I block them about AI. I've been honest and straight up with all of ya. Yes, I'm using AI to animate my images. When I'm on air, maybe I won't have to endure some of the nasty comments about AI and sexual comments too. Then they'll be nitpicking my face or something. Ha. I'm not here for either, so keep on walking your path. It ain't mine. I block the minute I see one, and I don't release anything until I review it. There are some cruel people out there in the world, and some will make your life as miserable as theirs is. I'm on here to share and be honest. Sometimes it's saying things that people don't usually talk about, and sometimes it's making sourdough or talking about old times. But it ain't to hurt nobody like some want to do. Behind my avatar is a real person, a real heart, and I have feelings. The disrespect that so many have for women, it's just unbelievable. I deal with it daily and then come on here and get it in mass production. The world is one tricky little place to navigate these days. Anywho, be wise. Prayer up. Hugs to all of ya. Be well, be blessed.
Drifting into memory, something long gone keeps on coming back to me. My heart is hung up on what used to be. Time moves on, and then one day